captain caused quite significant offence and distress to the Jewish community. I mean, will he apologise at any stage? Or
Alex Pearce had a view, liked a couple of posts of the Irish band Kneecap, and they have strong Palestinian support. They're strong Palestinian supporters.
The Palestinians have nowhere to go. It's their fucking home, and they're bombing them from the sky. If you're not calling it a genocide, what the fuck are you calling it?
Now, I'm not taking a position on this, but I can tell you, Craig, that there are many people in the AFL Jewish community who are very upset by the comments or the social media posts put up by Alex Pearce. And we've tried to contact Keith Thomas today. He hasn't returned our calls. Some commentary regarding the Middle Eastern war, perceived by some as pro-Palestinian, perceived by others, nervous people at Melbourne, as maybe offending some of the stakeholders around a potential new home for the Melbourne Football Club at Caulfield, and Keith Thomas has withdrawn from the process.
You think that's cost him the job?
I do. This is, look, this is on X, this is in all manner of social media.
Media activities.
His social media activities.
Yeah, around his political views, which
Well,
we're all entitled in a democracy to our own political views. You are entitled.
I don't think, and he's accusing me of having the opposing political views. Nick, you don't have to be a left-winger to not support the anti-Semitic and archaic medical views of Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
Who's noticed this intentional build-up media spin at the moment, trying to create a conflict between Jews and Muslims, or Jews and the rest of society in Australia? And this is why I keep saying about the AFL media, and the real power and purpose of the AFL media is not with the AFL stories, but wherever they can throw social engineering and cultural conditioning into sport, and they use it as a dictatorship in which, if you speak out of line, you're brought into a forced apology and then into fucking re-education training or whatever. So anyway, the latest one, and this has happened a few times in the AFL media in the last 2 weeks, I think, and it's been Caroline Wilson always bringing this up. And I did a podcast with Warren Tredrea last week. I think we touched on this issue, and it was to do with the CEO job at the Melbourne Football Club, and supposedly they've rummaged through. It's almost like someone when they're running for an election campaign, and they rummage through their whole social media history. Do you remember like that one where Mr. Burns was running for governor or whatever, and then they go through that whole list of people that are there to and the hit team's more important than the actual election. It's kind of like that.
This, Mr. Burns, into this.
Why are my teeth showing like that?
Because you're smiling.
Ah, excellent. This is exactly the kind of trickery I'm paying you for. But how do we turn your average Joe six-pack against Mary Bailey?
With this team of investigators, your muckraker,
How do you
your
do?
character assassin,
Nice to meet you.
your mudslinger, your garbologist.
Hello.
Their job is to turn Mary Bailey from this into this.
Visual aids help so much. Thank you.
So they've dug up this, apparently one of the guys running for president liked a post or said something and they couldn't even find the post.
In the end, it came down to three. The internal candidate, David Chippendale, the head of the Coaches Association, Alistair Nicholson, and the man I believe is the front runner, and it will be announced certainly before the end of the month, because Stephen Smith, the president, the soon-to-be president, is going away then, will be Paul Guerra. He at the moment is the strong favourite. He's the head of the Victorian Chamber of Commerce, well-known Victorian businessman, board member, had a crack he was talked about at one stage a few years ago as maybe going on to the Essendon board. He's a big Essendon man, not anymore if he gets the Melbourne job. But the curveball was Keith Thomas, the much-loved former Norwood player and Port Adelaide CEO, who was strongly favoured, I think, by many at AFL HQ, and then came some social media commentary from his past, and we've tried to contact Keith Thomas today. He hasn't returned our calls. Some commentary regarding the Middle Eastern war, perceived by some as pro-Palestinian, perceived by others, nervous people at Melbourne, as maybe offending some of the stakeholders around a potential new home for the Melbourne Football Club at Caulfield, and Keith Thomas has withdrawn from the process.
You think that's cost him the job?
I do. I do, and I'm not sure whether Keith made the call or Melbourne made the call, but I know there was a lot of nervousness when this social media stuff emerged. Keith Thomas camp members say to me that he simply opposes war and it was meant to be just anti-war comments, but it made people at Melbourne nervous.
But now they've brought in Alex Pearce, the Fremantle captain this week, has liked a post from this Irish band, and I saw like a short interview that this Irish band did. I don't even know who they are, but you know, they've taken a pro-Palestinian stance.
The Palestinians have nowhere to go, it's their fucking home, and they're bombing them from the skies.
This is part of Irish rap band Kneecap's performance at Coachella, which has since gone viral on social media.
If you're not calling it a genocide, what the fuck are you calling it?
The trio also displayed bold messages condemning Israel's war on Gaza and criticizing continued U.S. support for Israel.
Historically, most Irish people have and do, so it's not an uncommon thing in Ireland, especially Ireland and Scotland. We know, like Celtic has always had a massive pro-Palestinian stance for a long time. But anyway, so Alex Pearce has apparently liked something that they've shared, and in the article on the 7 News, it's basically saying that, you know, they made a point of that, you know, it wasn't a Jewish thing. They're basically stating that it wouldn't matter what race of people it is, but they don't support a clear genocide going on. And like, there is no debate over whether it's a genocide. And even if you're talking about like the long-term agenda and what they're trying to play out here, and they are going to use both sides, and it's not all as clear-cut as people think, but it's a genocide by definition. I think, like, I'll put up definition of genocide here. I think the definition of genocide is something like the eradication or extermination or attempted annihilation or extermination of an ethnic, racial or religious group. Now, that's exactly what they've done in Palestine. That's why in Gaza, they've destroyed all the building infrastructure, because it's not just about killing all the people. It's about destroying anything they had. That is a genocide, right? So it is a genocide, and he's going to do a forced apology. I'm saying, like, Alex Pearce, do not fucking apologise for that. This is the problem. And they said, like, it's offended those in the Jewish football in AFL industry.
He simply opposes war, and it was meant to be just anti-war comments, but it made people at Melbourne nervous.
Who the fuck are you talking about? Like, but this goes to the greater theme of what I've been talking about for a number of years, and going all the way back to Ole Demigard in 2019 saying a multi-state, multi-city attack. I did an interview with Ole Demigard about 6 months ago, and I asked him the question based on an interview he did in 2019, and what he uncovered was groups within NATO and others within the military intelligence were planning a multi-state, multi-city Muslim terror attack to be coordinated all over Europe and within the United States and other Western countries, all on the same day.
And then on October the 21st, I was in an RV. I was touring. We had just made a stop, and then I found the latest tweets where he said, in other words, but more or less what he said, we have now logged in on 39 different locations. It would be London, Manchester, Paris, Barcelona, and Rotterdam, and Sweden. The time duration will be 36 hours, and the date will be October 23 and 24.
So you're thinking they're planning to do a massive,
I did not
simultaneous, know. Yeah.
I did not know, but when I put it together, it's also that I've over the years I've learned the lingo from many of these black ops, you know. So when somebody says something like that, and then who has been involved in at least Stockholm, but also it seemed to me like where he has been that he could very well have been in the location coordinating some of the other stuff as well. We have now locked in, we've decided on 39 locations, time duration 36 hours, the date October 23 and 24, and the locations as well. He said London, Manchester, Paris, Barcelona, and Rotterdam. In my world, I was like, what on earth is that? You know, because to me it sounded like if either I completely misunderstand the whole thing and they're having like 39 coordinated meetings in these areas, or security drills, if that is the whole thing. So, but within the time duration of 36 hours, or if he is the bad boy that I believe he is, then what on earth are they planning? This was on October the 21st. They said, we're going to go live October the 23rd, meaning that I stumbled across this before it had been activated, whatever that was. Case would be in strategic positions, whatever that meant. I would say government buildings so that they attack themselves, so that would justify whatever. Yeah, it would be like public places, train stations, bus stations, airports, water, knock out the internet, knock out the water supply, all of these things to make an absolute chaotic situation. And all the time being pointed towards the Al-Qaeda, ISIS, whatever boogeyman they want to point at. You know,
39 is interesting too, because they love the number 13, and it's 3 times 13, and everything has.
Trump saying there's a 100% chance of a Muslim terror attack he just said terror attack inside America.
And there's a 100% chance that there will be a major terrorist attack in the United States, or many attacks maybe,
Built up the stories around the border entries up to 20 million or whatever, making it very clear that, they were allowing terrorists in. It's even in the news now too, that, the amount of violent criminals and stuff that they've let in, and they
absolutely rise up in arms and to take up that nationalist, take up that pride, and all come together to fight a common enemy. It's going to take a catalyst. And Funky Prepper, that's what we're seeing right now. We're seeing the elitist prepare the catalyst. That's what all this is about. It's all about putting all these cells out. This isn't a condemnation of Islam. This isn't a condemnation of people from the Middle East. It's not. This is cultures, races, nationalities being used as pawns by elitists. A lot of them are criminals, yeah, but a lot of them are just brainwashed into the paradigm they were raised to believe in. Islam or whatever it is they believed. But most of them are Islamic, and they're being put in these countries deliberately. And you're right, they're military age. Every bit of this is by design. It's not just to create an imbalance. This is a deliberate plant of a fifth column in all the Western nations. That's exactly what this is. It's you got to call a spade a spade. And it's exactly, precisely what is needed to basically have the Western nations come together and declare war on the Middle East. It's exactly what is needed, and it's all by design. We're being played. This is going to play out. We're just watching it unfold, but we're not going to change it. This is all part of the program. This is such long-term planning. The collective is going to follow through with this. They're easy to read. It's easy to see.
Clear that Hezbollah and Hamas have tens of thousands of men and women as sleeper cells that are, quote, other than Mexican, that the Border Patrol list every month, tens of thousands coming across the Texas and Arizona and California sectors. And it's an easy equation to predict that there's a wide probability that Hezbollah and Hamas at some point are going to attack sports stadiums, they're going to attack colleges, they're going to attack synagogues, they're going to shoot up mass gatherings if they're given the order by Iran. If we go to war with Iran, having to go through this stuff at the moment where they've declared MS-13 illegal, a terrorist organisation, and this is where it's eventually going to go, because they're going to use the military against these groups. And I've said the end game for a long time here is
as far as like exposure is, we have to go into a wartime scenario, and they're showing this through the process. People keep going, "Oh, lock everyone up in America." Trump said he was going to lock them up. Now, like, in support of Trump, how are you meant to lock them up when they've shown for the last 4 years that the Justice Department and all these judges are a captured operation? So, through what legal system are you going to lock these people up, right? And it would be very easy if they just fucking presented the evidence to the public, but that's not the way it's going. And it will be military court, so it's going to be under military law. Anyway, that's where I think the bigger picture of where it's going. And the same is like with the Australian election at the moment. Like, a lot of people think it was rigged. I personally couldn't give a fuck about the election, and it's kind of nice that people feel defeated after that, because there's a much more people that have come along the side now of there is no political solution, which is like, thank you. Have they just worked this out? And nothing against anyone fighting in those avenues, and I have nothing against anyone that's voted, but it tells you just the fact that you're casting a vote still means you believe in that. Even if the system was legit, but you believe in that as a solution, and ultimately that is saying that someone else is going to fix your problems. So it's going to eventually draw people back against the wall. They're going to roll in. They're going to roll on with this agenda much quicker. Eventually, it cannot reach its end game for what they're concerned. And I've told you many times, this is a factional war. You're being shown every aspect of the agenda, and none of it is going to play out. And this is why I was doing all those videos last year trying to explain that the energy of the flip and how the universe works on waveform information fields and waveform vibration, how it goes up and down, and eventually there's this flip. It's inbuilt into the coding of this reality. And we are hitting that point where everything will be flipped, but you're going to have to see it all first. And then the financial side too. It's going to be the whole new financial system. It's like there's so many things that are going to play out, but who's ringing me?
Because we've decided we're coming together. We are heading to Adelaide, obviously, your neck of the woods, Rachel and Narita.
And you've done so well. I mean, what a venue. Good grief. And just looking at the itinerary, I'm so excited, pumped, because this is a beautiful itinerary. I'm going to be excited just to be watching what's going on.
I think that it's going to be more of a joyous event in as far as the information that's being received. You can just feel that with the energy where it's going, and just and being able to share that with people, I think it's going to be really cool. McLaren Vale is a very beautiful area, isn't it?
Yes. That's where the venue is for the Saturday, and then the Sunday. Well, Rachel, you can speak to the Sunday. That's
Sunday's in the Onkaparinga area off Penny's Hill Road, and just the drive to this particular spot is beautiful. It's very off the beaten track, really, really lovely. But not so off the beaten track that you need a four-wheel drive. So it's accessible, but just stunning. Lots of ley lines on the way up there too.
Someone just rang me and said nothing. Anyway, back to the Alex Pierce thing. Now tell me this is just weird if it's coinciding with the same time that this Rabbi Shmuley character, and those that don't know him, he's an American rabbi, ultra-Zionist psychopath, and I actually find him very amusing, and I can't stop following his content on Instagram, and I didn't know who he was until Candace Owens started doing these debates with him, and she tears him apart, but he's a very, very skilled debater, and this is a guy that she's been pointing out that he supports Robert Kennedy. He's got all these photos with Robert Kennedy, and she's suggesting that Robert Kennedy's compromised, because I mean, this guy's a pig. Like, he's not someone that you would ever want to spend a fucking day with, this Rabbi Shmuley. Anyway, he's come over to Australia to do this bit of a speaking tour to very, very small events by the look of it, and then he's putting out the areas in which they're going to, and then he's complaining that they're being doxing, and he keeps saying like the tsunami of anti-Semitism in Australia, and the tidal wave of anti-Semitism in Australia. Like it's just relentless, and the hyperbole of the language that he uses, it's insane. It's but it's just weird. Like the push in Australia, like there is no anti-Semitism in Australia. It's not a thing. Of course, with the huge number of Muslim immigrants that they've brought into Australia, and then with the way that Israel is acting and been behaving for a long time in the Middle East, and then a lot of the trigger points of what they've done the last few years, of course you're going to get fucking rebuttal. If you stop slaughtering people, there wouldn't be so-called anti-Semitism. But this is the whole point. They want both sides to come together, and this is why I keep saying that if it's just all primed for a massive Muslim terror attack, and multiple of them, in which then Israel, who's lost the PR war, will have justification to do whatever. And Trump also needs the PR as well too, because he can't really justify supporting Israel at this point. And a lot of the alternative conservative media are still supporting Trump to a degree, but they cannot support him on Israel.
I just hope everybody recognizes that, like, when it all comes down, they'll kill you too. Like, I just want to, like, it's just, when you get to the point where you have to, like, start saying that it's, like, cool for, like, innocent babies and children to die, and you're like, well, I'm in the crowd that's saying it, so my innocent children and babies won't die. No, that's not really how it works. When you get to the level of I will kill a child and lie about it, you're at the level where I'll kill anybody and lie about it. Like, there's a bigger thing happening here. So don't think you're, like, marked safe by being a sellout and pretending like you don't think that, babies dying is wrong. Just want to let you know.
And making us understand that, like, we're here for peace and they're the terrorists. And I say that to mean that we live inside this propagandized space because it's been essential to them for so long to protect that image in order to continue the deep state element of what they're doing. When I would argue that we would all be much better off if Bibi was fucking not there and we had a more sane person in charge of Israel that was actually there for peace and not there for whatever the fuck Bibi is doing.
You can rationalize genocide, you can rationalize stealing, they're stealing land in the West Bank, they're doing all this fucked up. And I think it's a religious problem. Judaism doesn't try and convert anybody. They just think they're better. They just think that we are the chosen ones, and basically everybody is here to serve us. And so when you have that mentality, like, look at how they're treating the Palestinians. They're treating them like cattle. And so, like, you're going to obviously treat cattle differently than you're going to treat a human. So when your belief system is such that you are better than everybody else and other people are subhuman, then, you're going to have exactly what's going on in Israel.
But just being Jewish, you have what they call a birthright to go to Israel on them, a free trip, and you can also become a citizen there anytime. Like, you have a right to Israel. Yet, the people living in that land for hundreds of years before the Zionist project have no right to return to their homes. They still have keys, some of the older ones there, to their homes. And they have no right to go back to it, which is just so wild to me. But anyway, that's kind of neither here nor there.
If you're intentionally killing civilians, you probably shouldn't beat your chest and brag about it. Maybe you can make the case, with that. Maybe you make the case that we had to do it or whatever, but you should. I agree. You should weep, and that's evil, and you should just say it's evil. And I know it's really threatening to. Is it evil? Ben Shapiro to say that or whatever, but is it evil to kill civilians on purpose? Yeah, it is. I think it is.
Just that it's a tinderbox waiting to happen, and I just thought it was really. It's really interesting that all these stories have started coming up about anti-Semitism, especially in the AFL media, and they've clearly gone digging for them. Like, you can go through anyone's social media and find one post that they've liked of something, right? So they've gone digging for them, and it's coincided the same time that this Rabbi Shmuley guy is over here, and he's tight with Bibi Netanyahu and a lot of the Israeli establishment. Like, he's right up there, this guy, and I would not be surprised if he's teamed up with this Davir Abramovich guy from Melbourne from the Anti-Defamation Commission, which is basically a man in a fucking shed organisation, which is just this Davir Abramovich guy that are now spilling their bullshit in Victorian schools. They're boasting about how they've got this program in about diversity and stuff, and he's the man who banned Candace Owens, or advocated for the banning of Candace Owens, advocated and ultimately got banned David Icke from entering into Australia, and others. And I was going to a Norman Finkelstein event. I think it might have been the same year. I think it was just before the pandemic. It was 2019. And those who don't know Norman Finkelstein, he's a Jewish academic that is a big advocate for the Palestinians and the human rights of the Palestinians. And he's not someone that's come along since October 7th. This guy's been putting out material for decades.
Israel is a genocidal power without shame. They're very open, much more open than the Nazis. We have to be very clear about that. The Nazis were much more concealed.
In terms of this public statement?
Yes, than the Israelis. So what would it have looked like if they got their way? We know exactly. Defense Minister Gallant said there would be no food, water, electricity, or fuel admitted to Gaza. That's pretty straightforward. That's just a recipe for genocide. And over again, the Israelis at every level of society, from the top to the bottom, across the political spectrum, from the military to the civilian institutions, they all said, we want to wipe out Gaza. That was their goal. Wipe out Gaza and wipe out the population, literally.
Well, especially in your audience to Nazis. Now, that is extremely offensive when certain people are German. And they're also extremely offensive to people who've actually suffered under Nazi rule.
I don't respect that anymore. I really don't. I don't like and I don't respect the crocodile tears the crocodile tears. No. I'm so, folks, allow me to finish and allow me to finish. Listen, sir. Allow me to finish. Sir, I don't like to play before an audience the Holocaust card. But since now I feel compelled to. My late father was in Auschwitz. My late mother, please shut up. My late father was in Auschwitz. My late mother was in Majdanek concentration camp. Every single member of my family on my father's side,
the Jews did not take arms against the
my late father was in Auschwitz concentration camp. My late mother was in Majdanek concentration camp. Every single member of my family on both sides was exterminated. Both of my parents were in the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising. And it's precisely and exactly because of the lessons my parents taught me and my two siblings that I will not be silent when Israel commits its crimes against the Palestinians. And I consider nothing more despicable than to use their suffering and their martyrdom to try to justify the torture, the brutalization, the demolition of homes that Israel daily commits against the Palestinians. So I refuse any longer to be intimidated or browbeaten by the tears. If you had any heart in you, you would be crying for the Palestinians, not for what's inside.
Anyway, me and my dad were going down to see him, and they cancelled the event the fucking day of, like 2 hours before the event was going to start. And this is what they do: they wait until the venue's announced, people have bought their tickets, people have bought plane tickets and stuff to go to the event, and they'll cancel it at the last minute. It's the same strategy they've used with David Icke and many other speakers as well. Like when they banned Dr. Tenpenny from coming to Australia in the same year, and Andrew. Oh yeah. Anyway, so. And then Schmooly was doing, anyway, he keeps fucking documenting all these events, and he's got the tidal wave of Jew hatred in Australia. He was trying to say like Australia's one of the worst, and all it takes is, he'd have to be connected with this Davir Abramovich, but all it would take would be him connecting with Davir Abramovich to push these through the media. It's so easily done. And we saw the control, and like, I don't believe that the Jews run the world. They're a fucking they're a front group, organisation that are put there, all pending for this very moment of this final conflict and culture war. But yeah, all people needed to see, because Shmuley keeps saying, "Oh, what's wrong with Australia now?" He goes, "They've elected this pro-Hamas terrorist supporter, Anthony Albanese," and so how pro-Hamas Anthony Albanese is, he fucking after that fire bombing supposedly in Melbourne, Bibi Netanyahu tweeted out the same day to Albanese that this is a terrorist attack on the Jewish people. And like, at this point, they had no people that they even knew who did it. They don't know the motivation behind the attack or whatever. And like, these things are always like a fucking Jewish group behind it, or intelligence agencies anyway, that fake these attacks. And you know by the reaction. Anyway, he's tweeted out, "This needs to be declared a terrorist attack." Bang, the next day, Albanese comes down wearing the kippah and declares it a terrorist attack. It's a very, very important thing that they're declaring this a terrorist attack, because what you're doing when you can say that the motivation is a right-wing extremist or whatever, or a neo-Nazi or a Jewish hater, and that is declared a terrorist, then you can start throwing the anti-terrorism, counter-terrorism legislation at these people. And this goes all the way back to the Patriot Act and the National Defense Authorization Act in America, and our equivalents here, that the reason they set these whole things up was that eventually to make the white so-called nationalists, when they start pushing back against, like, say, the mass immigration that's happening in Australia that's going to continue to increase, to declare these people terrorists, right? It's very simple. So anyway, it just feels like, I don't want to make this negative because but it's just something I've got to point out, because it's a real common theme here. And Caroline Wilson is a fucking cunt. Like, she's just a fucking cunt. And she's like someone in the media. If you're in the AFL media, you can see they're all scared of like fighting back against Caro because like she clearly holds the power in the AFL media. But anyway, so the last thing was we've got 2.5 weeks. Yeah, I think 2.5 weeks until we go to Adelaide. So I'm fucking really excited for this. Obviously, it's going to be myself, Georgina, Narita, Rachel. We've got a heap of different raffle prizes that have been donated. So thanks again to all the donations, in particular Remedy Collective for the huge donation of homeopathy products, and Blue Yuki, Richard, for his products as well. He's donating again. Plus there'll be a heap of donations from myself, Rachel, Georgina, and Narita as well. So it's going to be great. And like, yeah, I guess, yeah, if you're in Adelaide, I guess, yeah, I've got 2.5 weeks. But if you're not, if you're going to come, you probably want to book now soon too, and get accommodation and stuff like that sorted. So yeah, it's cool to like finally finalise that. And I've given 2 kind of similar presentations in the last 2, a little bit different. The last one I did in Bendigo, and actually I'll say about the Bendigo presentation, I'm actually going to put, I think I said that in the last video, but I'm going to put that online on my website, so you can actually go view the previous Wood End one. I think it's like $15 or whatever if you want to watch it. But this one is about 5 hours of content, beautifully filmed and edited by Georgina's husband, Corey, and he's done an awesome job. So I'm going to put that up there for a reasonable price, for people that, if they didn't go to the Bendigo event and they're interested in that, they want to purchase that. That'd be good, helping support us to put on this show as well. So hopefully we can do more in the future. And then what else was I going to say? Oh yeah, so, and then I think if you're not coming to Adelaide, we are talking about we're gonna we might live stream it again for a purchase price, because people paid like good money to be there. So yeah, anyway, this one I'm because we're doing the Leyline tour with Rachel and stuff like that, I really want to hone in on this theme of like, what is a human being, really try and nail it down, and what's the opposing of what we're seeing, the encroachment in of technology and artificial intelligence, what that says about the human being and the cure being the natural world. I really want to make that the theme. So anyway, for those that are coming, it'd be good to see you there. I know there's like a few of us Sky Earthers that I haven't met in person before that are going to be there. That'll be really cool. And hopefully the weather's good. But yeah, look, just keep an eye out more and more in the media for these anti-Semitic things, because the encroachment's going to come more and more and more. And when I look at like what they were doing when they brought out this fight against anti-Semitism in the English Premier League in 2018, they were doing that as a response because they knew Israel was going in for the attack in 2018, and that was their last big slaughter. There was another big one in 2014. They've been the last few, but 2018 they did it again, and they did it periodically every kind of 4 years. And this is why people kept going, oh, there were no wars under Trump. Israel was slaughtering the Palestinians in 2018 under Trump. Just remember that as well. So, yeah, it tells me that they need to justify a clampdown on speech. And why would you need to justify a clampdown on speech unless something else was coming? So something else is coming in which they do not want you to talk about. And it's interesting now with the AFL. The AFL has always been left-leaning. Look at their history of when they had the yes/no vote. The AFL was telling you to vote yes. They were sticking their nose into people's political lives. Then when the referendum came out around the yes/no vote for the voice, the AFL said yes.
The hell are these people at the AFL who are telling the football public what they should do in their lives and who they should vote for in any political agenda? Who are you? Who gives you the right to tell people and to put on the football what people should do? For God's sake, there's a plebiscite going on in the country at the minute, the yes or no vote. What right have you got to say what people should be doing? The 3 or 4 million AFL fans, you are saying you should vote one way or the other. Yes, you're saying you should vote for. Who are you? What gives you the right? You are nothing more than obsequious, fawning, sycophantic political whores. You have no right to get involved in political messages. Let people go to the football and do what they want to do. Just watch the game. Keep your contrived and conflicted snouts out of people's lives and let people do what they want to do. It's a release to go to the football. We don't need you. All you're doing is virtue signalling, making yourself look grand when nothing more than overpaid executives making decisions on behalf of no...
Keep our borders open.
To explore the world again.
To welcome friends back to our shores.
Is our shot.
Our shot.
Our shot. This is our shot.
I've had my shot.
When Black Lives Matter, which is an intelligence-funded, Jewish-funded organisation funded by the Open Society Foundation, George Soros, so the AFL was supporting that, supporting Black Lives Matter, which will later be declared a fucking terrorist organisation funded by the intelligence community.
Richmond and Collingwood players have taken a knee in support of the Black Lives Matter movement, and the Cats and Hawks will follow suit tonight.
McLaughlin insists it was owned and driven by the players and not a contrived message from the top office.
I thought there was a simple gesture that, shone a light on the issue of racism and culture, and then they got on and played football, and I thought it was nicely executed and done and sent the message that the industry wanted to send.
That message that racism still exists, and from the Tigers' point of view at least, the one knee won't be a one-off.
It's not going to be a one-week movement for us. We're going to continue to have conversation and educate.
They support all these left-wing things, and then not to mention like your Pride round, LGBT shit, they're all for that. But the problem is here, and this is the weird bit, that the pro-Palestinian is a left-wing stance. But then it shows when push comes to shove, and then when there's another agenda being rolled out, that they're not really pro-Palestinian at all. It's used by the left as a political stance for a purpose, and whenever those people that were pro-Palestinian come into power, they do nothing. Look at Albanese. There was talks of him back in his university days fighting for Palestinian rights. Look at Jeremy Corbyn, that spent his whole life as a backbencher being the most outspoken person in UK politics for the rights of the Palestinians, and then he ends up running for the Labor Party and loses the election because he completely fucking sold out from his base. And this is what happens. It doesn't matter what your stance is. Your stance matters when you have a fucking chance to actually do something. And that's the same for like Alex Pearce now. It's no good, like, if you want to like something, yeah, if you're liking it and you're too scared to speak about it publicly, then it doesn't matter. It's not, you know, that's actual fucking courage, is when everyone's coming at you and saying, you can't say that, you can't do that. And you say, well, fuck you. I can say, if that's what I believe and I know it's right, then I'm going to say it. It's nothing no different than the COVID time. And yeah, you can see, like, once that cowardice is overreached, that's how we move forward. And the Palestinians are actually a great example of this, because their back's against the fucking wall, man. That's what happens when you lose everything. You don't care. You've got nothing left to lose. And that's kind of the path that we're heading down in Australia here too. With it will be an economic hit that will destroy people. But it's necessary. And the thing is, we can all take steps to avoid or curb some of the harm that's coming. And I think we just need to all like embrace it and mostly like stick together, because they've really killed the community aspect in the Western world, and particularly in Australia. And this is what I love about when I go to Thailand, is there's this community thing, and it's not a Thai thing. It's just a human thing. It's in every country in the world. It's just been curbed out in the West by design. And the main thing is, because you keep people separated, then they'll never ever get together and stick up for each other, because at the end of the day, the government ain't going to help us. And it's good that people have come to that realization that there's not going to be a political solution. So it's better time to form community than ever. So that's kind of part of what we're doing, going to Adelaide too, that it's going to be, you know, like, just getting together with community. And this is what we're going to be talking about. So it's all going to be self-empowerment stuff. It doesn't fucking matter what's being thrown at you. That's why I'm going to talk about artificial intelligence. But the scariness of artificial intelligence, and like, oh, it's this all-encompassing force, and how can we defeat artificial intelligence? And it looks like it's a foregone conclusion that we're fucked. But why? Why would you need this thing to be all-encompassing? Why would you need to throw every attack possible at the core of who the human being is? And the answer is, that force knows what the human being is. And if we ever fucking start to realize what we are and the power that we have, then it's over. But that's the whole thing with all the dark agenda. You bring it back to the premises of why? Why would you have such an attack on humanity at every level? Every level, to have attack on the human being. It's because of what the human being is. And that's what I'm going to get into in Adelaide. So those that are coming, I'll see you there. And those that aren't, we will keep up to date on my website, and I'll put the last video from Bendigo up in the next day.
Israel has approved a plan to capture all of the Gaza Strip and remain there for an unspecified length of time, according to Israeli officials. The plan reportedly also involves moving Gaza's civilian population southward and altering the way humanitarian aid is distributed throughout the region.
I was about to post this, and then I saw another one, this other headline about Israel sending in 10,000 more troops into Gaza. And what was the word that they used? Oh, anyway, I'll put up the headline. And anyway, again, I think it's really aimed to be provocative, but just keeping with this theme of like, they're trying to instigate something that will be a retaliatory response, and not even necessarily a retaliatory response, because those that will be doing the retaliation are behind the same people that are will be causing the retaliation, if you know what I mean.
בלילה ישבנו עד שעה מאוחרת בקבינט והחלטנו על פעולה עצימה בעזה. זו הייתה המלצת הרמטכ"ל, ללכת, כפי שהוא אמר, להכרעה של החמאס.
I mean, I really think that what the Israelis are doing in Gaza, especially with the resumption now of this bombing campaign when there was barely anything left to bomb, just the absolute indiscriminate slaughter and killing, the complete destruction of civilian life in Gaza, blowing up every hospital, every university. And I know all the arguments, Hamas was there, etc. But I think that what we're witnessing in Gaza is by far the worst atrocity, certainly of the century.
If you haven't got my Rumble account, I'll probably only just put this on my Rumble, because I put this video up of my dad reacting to the election the other night, and I put it on TikTok, and it got wiped straight away. So I think it'll probably get wiped on YouTube. So go over to me Rumble. I'll put this one in. It's basically, I'll leave it on the outro of the video. But obviously, like, the immigration thing has been a big thing, and like you look at the Five Eyes countries, it's been the same thing. Like especially England, Canada, and Australia with mass immigration rates, and then what we saw in America. And a big part, like obviously they want to, mass immigration is done for many reasons. Not even mentioning like the Kalergi plan, which was meant to be for Europe, but it's obviously into Australia as well. I think they've actually perfected the Kalergi plan in Australia, but yeah, with the mass rate of migration now too in Australia, and part of it is to do economically, and they've said that the household debt has reached peak debt in Australia, so they actually need new customers as far as taking out the last loans before the collapse of the dollar, as far as keeping the system alive for a bit longer, that Aussies aren't able to borrow anymore because they've reached this peak debt. So you've got to bring in new customers for insurance and all types of loans. But there was some like really funny like responses of like Indians after the election win. They even had like some sheik in there when Albo said something at the election win, and then they zoomed to like this guy in a turban, this sheik dude.
My dad's turned away. Albo. He was going to give her a kiss, I can tell him.
Well, he's gay, Dad. He doesn't. Yes.
He turned her away.
He's gay.
Best nation on earth. No.
What about the voice? Hey, you got an Indian. You got a sheik. They cut to an Indian. Do you think that was random?
What are you looking at? Look at that. Yeah. Mr. Albanese. You like Mr. Albanese?
Yes.
Yes, why's that?
Yes.
He let you in the country, yeah?
Yes. I like Albanese.
Yeah.
Guess what? The Labour Party is back in power, which means the current Prime Minister is holding his position. He's not going anywhere. And it's a big news for all international students, which means more chances, more work rights, better support are on the way. So if you are planning to stay or to study in Australia, this is your moment, okay? Just tighten your seatbelts and consider Australia for your future. Congratulations.
And again, nothing against Indians, but like, you know, they're pawns in this game, and they are being used to, I guess, destroy what was the British colonial culture of Australia for the last couple of 100 years. And anyway, but there was a girl did a really good video, because this was a dominating theme within America too, because they kept saying that if Trump lost that election, they'd never win another election again. And the premises behind that is that they were not just importing migrants, but you're importing voters. And they were showing, this girl done a really good breakdown of how they've already done it with this election, and then going into the next election, if we keep the rate of immigration going at the rate that it is. And I think she uses a stat of around immigrants vote 60% Labor or more, something like that you're actually completely changing the electorate, where we've seen seats that were held by certain parties, and particularly like the Liberal Party, be completely overhauled in this election that we've never really seen before. And what that is because the electorate's changed.
You don't need to rig an election to change its outcomes. You just need to change who lives in those seats. And right now, they're not just importing people, they're importing voters. The New South Wales Labor government has forced 43 councils to build hundreds and thousands of new homes. In the Hills District alone, there's going to be 23,000 extra homes added in just 5 years. That's 72,000 new residents. That's about 60% of voting power being dumped into one area. And obviously the housing isn't just for locals. Birth rate has been falling, but migration is through the roof. In February 2024 alone, over 105,000 people arrived in Australia. The majority of those people were migrants from India, and Indian Australians vote 58% to Labor and 34% to the Coalition. And that's not just speculation. That's Carnegie Carnegie Endowment data. Now apply that to areas like Mitchell and Barara. Those are Liberal safe seats. The margins are 10.5% and 7.5% respectively, about 12,000 and 9,000 votes. But if 72,000 new immigrants move in, voting 60 to 40% Labor, those seats are gone, from blue to red in just one election cycle. Because obviously if you change the voters, you change the vote. All these new homes for new citizens means a new political map. At this rate, 1 year of migration brings in the equivalent of 6 federal electorates. In one election cycle, that's 18. And if those voters lean 60 to 40 Labor, that's 36 electorates flipped. My point is, this isn't organic, this is deliberate redistribution, engineered through migration and rezoning. And while the coalition sleeps through this, the Labor Party is securing power suburb by suburb. It's not about the ballot box anymore, it's about who votes in it.
If nothing happened, if nothing intervened, it would appear that we're probably we would have a left-wing government to the end of time now. But I think something else is going to intervene, and what it's going to be the exposure of the US 2020 election, and the blame is going to eventually go on China, even though China is just a state vessel for something much higher. And you could even attach Israel to that, but it's even higher than that. But they're going to use the story of the Chinese Communist Party infiltrating, and we're just seeing the Canadian election, the Australian election, the Canadian, and also the US election. So anyway, I just don't think there's much to worry about. I think it's probably the most important time now where everyone can focus on how they're going to better themselves, better the people around them in this time. And I think it's actually a really exciting time, and the more and more it kind of looks like there's no hope, there's always hope. So see you later. It's the feeling of freedom in the unknown. Everything is a polarity within the universe. Everything has a counter expression. So if something exists, the opposite must exist.
More the numbers you were born with are your natural tools and talents, Kate. These are the radio stations that you are naturally plugged into.
I've been living on borrowed time for a very long time as well, luckily. So I have made sure that the time that I've had here, it's like a gift. My actual timeline, I really felt like if I could make it to 50, and I've done it now, I would be happy.
To what's going on in the world, and to you seeing yourself in a totally new light, and you can never come back from that. It's like when a rubber band is stretched, it can no longer be put back to exactly where it was.
That's something that people will be able to take in, or be able to use the lyrics at least and sing their own version of into the lays. And with the intent of clearing and cleansing and putting positive, loving energy into the lay. Because we've had these Satanists hide the existence of the ley lines, co-opt the major portal spaces and do horrific things in those spaces for millennia. And what we need to do, and all we need is a critical number of people to do it, go in there and turn it around. When I realised that I'd actually chosen to come here, it was a realisation, not necessarily a memory. Then the pain went away.
Well, how exciting is this? We are definitely doing another event. Where's it going to be and who's it going to be with and all this stuff, and we can finally announce.
Going to go to Adelaide, and we're going to have Rachel Vaughan presenting at the next one.